Hi, my name's Lisa. I'd like to welcome you to my home. I'm in my sewing room, and I thought I would give you guys a floss tube update, show you what I've been working on. Today is, I think, the 2nd of February, and I thought I'd be here quicker, but things just kept creeping up instead of taking the time to video. So I have quite a bit of stuff to share with you. I have some fully finished things. I have some finished stitching. I have some things that I've worked on. I have some organization things that I've been trying to accomplish. So I've been able to check those off the list. I have a few things for haul. And then I thought I'd talk about WIPGO. So I hope something in that whole mix will be something exciting for you. It's funny, I kept putting off doing the video because I was hoping that my hairstylist would call and say they had a cancellation because I was sick last time at my appointment. And so now I'm a full month almost, like a couple days past. I mean, in a couple days, it will have been a month past when I needed a haircut. And so part of me was like, I didn't even want to get on here with my hair being all goofy. But I thought, well, you're probably going to be looking at the stitching anyway. So, anyway, enough about my hair. Hope everybody is creating and doing some fun stuff. I got to work with some different things last night. I just couldn't think of anything I wanted to stitch. And I thought I had an idea of something that I wanted to make as a gift. And so anyway, I came in and worked on that, so I'll share that with you in a little bit too. So, anyway, let's get going. So, I think the first thing that I fully finished was my Parson Brown. I've finished him in the stitching since I saw you last. I had just basically had a little bit of a start down here, and I just decided that I wanted to be able to put it out on my island in my kitchen. And I thought, well, if I don't hurry up, winter's going to be over. Can't believe it's already in February. So I found this frame in my stash. I paid 75 cents for it at the thrift store. It's a really pretty wood frame, and I'm real happy with how it turned out. I mean, these straight lines are a pain in the keister when you're trying to pin things, but I mean, I worked at it and worked at it and worked at it, and this was about the closest I could get. It's not perfect, but it's perfect enough for me. And so I actually got the back looking halfway decent because I knew you'd be able to see it from the other side of my little display on my island. So anyway, this is Parson Brown by Not Forgotten Farm, and it was a real fun stitch. I've been working on cleaning up my sewing room. If you've been here before, you know that it's often a disaster. Any flat surface tends to just get piles of stuff because I'm always in the middle of a project. I don't ever seem to finish it all the way through to where I finish, done, no chance of needing this stuff again to put things away. And if I do ever get to that point, I'm exhausted. I think, oh, I'll clean this up later. And then the piles just keep getting bigger and bigger. So I've just decided that I just need to get this under control. So I was trying to store, this is kind of a tangent, but I thought, well, while I'm here, I might as well. So this room that I'm in was my mom's little unit off my house. She lived with us for, I think, 8 or 9 years. And so when she passed away like 3 years ago, we decided we were going to make this into my craft area because my craft area was down in the basement and I was having a hard time going up and down the stairs. So, long story short, so I've been transforming this into my sewing room, but I haven't been doing a very good job of getting it organized. I have way too much in here for what the room can handle. I mean, it's a very good sized room. It has great light, and it's just a wonderful room. But I've got way too much stuff in it. I was trying to be able to have my cross stitch stuff in here, my rubber stamping, card making stuff in here, my sewing stuff, and my quilting machine. Plus, I found really cool armchairs at the thrift store that I had no place in anywhere else in my house to go. And I thought, oh, those will look lovely in here. And they do look pretty, but they're always piled full of stuff. So anyway, I've just decided I have to get this organized. So I've been inching away at it. And until I brought in all my stuff for my video, my cutting table has been pretty well cleared off. And if I've worked on something, I've put things away. It's very odd, but it was still me. And I got this area cleaned up. I took everything off the table and dusted. And anyway, so it's progressive. I have this little area kind of picked up. I've decided that if I need a chart, something isn't fully finished yet, and I still might need the chart to share with you guys on the video, I've been putting them in that little cabinet. And then once I'm done showing it, then I can put it away. But anyway, so I'm very excited. I think I'm finally going to get organized. I used to think that I was someone that needed to see my stuff everywhere. I needed to see the pretty fabric. I needed to see all the trim. I needed to see all the floss, all of the everythings. Even my previous out of season stitching, I felt like it had to be in here. And I just feel like I'm changing, or I was never like that to begin with. But I feel like now when I come in here, I am just on overload. Like almost to the point where I can't do anything. So that's not working. I have to move on to a different thing because now I have absolutely no excuse why I'm not getting a zillion things finished because I have all the time in the world. So I got to get my act together because who knows how long this is going to last. And I might go back to where I don't have time to do things like I do now. So I got to make the most of it. So I've decided that I am going to keep my cross-stitch fabric in here, and I'm going to keep my floss just because I have an idea of where I can put those things, that they'll be out of the way. But then all my charts are going to go in my living room. I have a little cabinet in there. So I think I will put them in there. And I think I'll still have more room left over. So I might end up putting some of my seasonal stuff that's out of season, my stitched things. If they're really seasonal, I think I'm going to try putting them in that cabinet also. And that way they'll be really close at hand. They won't be down in the basement where I'm afraid, some water incident would happen to them or being musty or anything like that. And I will just have room to breathe in here. So I want to have things sitting up. I want to have pretty things around me, but in smaller quantities. That was a long tangent. Are you still here? Okay, so you might know that I had this crazy idea that I wanted to do a monthly challenge. And I even got other people on board. And then I never did it. So January was a new year. And so as the month was coming to a close, I thought, okay, you got to get serious about this idea. So the idea is we have a theme for the month, and then you have the entire month to do whatever you want to do in that theme. And of course, January was hearts in preparation for Valentine's Day in February. So I was having the hardest time. Did I want to make a table runner with hearts on it? So I was looking at all kinds of YouTube channels and seeing all kinds of, there was like a bunch of free things that I came across. There was some PDF files that I thought about downloading. But red, like Valentine's red, just really isn't anywhere in my house. I have more of a primitive reds in places where I thought, well, I could do that. And then I even toyed with the idea of just doing taupe and cream and, you know, do a cream background and do the hearts in taupe or something. So it would be more of a neutral. And then I didn't even know where I was going to put the table runner. And so there we go. So 3 weeks went by and nothing got accomplished. I was looking in Pinterest and I found this really cool make-do, pin keep type of thing that was on a candlestick. And I had made something similar, but wasn't in a really tight-shaped heart. It was more of like a free-formed blob, basically. But anyway, so I had some red velvet sitting around, and I thought, okay, let's just see what we could do. So I saw one on Pinterest, and so this is what I came up with. Now, of course, when I was doing it, the plan was for it to go over the top of this. I saw this cute little candlestick in my stash, 50 cents at the thrift store. And it's showing up a real crazy teal, but it's a real pretty verdigris type of color. And the plan was for the base to wrap around the top, but I didn't make my opening big enough. So, and I haven't glued it in there yet. But I believe it's almost finished. I do have to conceal my opening in the back. But anyway, so this is what I came up with as a heart thing. I strung some buttons on some floss. I made some tiny, tiny strawberries. And so anyway, I have accomplished my January goal of a heart-themed project. And I have other fabrics sitting out, thinking that I might just make some little stuffed hearts to sit around. But we'll see if that happens. Like I said, I have 3 different piles of red stuff sitting around. We'll see. Now for February, it's a wool project. So I have an idea that I might try to finish a wool project rather than start one. But who knows me, I might do both. We'll see. All right, so I have my book of days and my little book cover that I made. Still haven't got the trim sewed on. This is the little free chart that comes inside your book of days. So I cross-stitched that because I wanted my word of the year to be friendship. And I wanted to try to spend this year really trying to create and maintain some good friendships. So, all right, so I was able to keep caught up on all my stitching, tracking down stuff. Boy, that sounded really weird. I was able to track my stitching. If I edited things, that would come out, but I don't, so I was able to stitch, I think, every day. There was a couple of days where I was taking down Christmas, because yes, I just finally got my Christmas stuff down the 3rd week of January. but it's down and it's put away. And then I have my February decorated. I'm not using stickers. I'm just using my rubber stamps because I have those. Made a little bookmark out of wool and cardstock so that I can real easy find my spot. So that's my book of days. Okay, so I have some finishes. I'm doing Whip Go, and I had, let's see. Oh no, that's next month's Whip Go. Never mind. Don't think about Whip Go. We'll talk about that later. So I worked a little bit more on Blue Skin by Plum Street Samplers. They had done it on like a light blue fabric. I just did on, I think this is Fabrics by Stephanie, and it's driftwood, I believe. So, love how it turned out. I think it's pretty much a finish. All I have to do is put the 1776 above George Washington's initials. And then I have some twig outlines that I have to do. And that was going to be on the agenda this morning before I did the video. Because I was just at the point last night where it's like, I'm done. And, I'll do that in the morning. Well, that didn't happen, but I'm still considering it a finish. I had done some from Primrose Cottage Hive Rules. I'm doing mine on separate did I do that one? I didn't do that one yet. I'm doing mine on individual pillows, and I did the bonus chart. So this one I had already finished. The Hive Rules, don't worry about this part. I think I was starting my next pillow too close, so I've abandoned that and I will restitch it. I was able to get this one started on New Year's Eve, and so I got that one finished. Welcome to our hive. I did Kind Words Are Like Honey, Sweet to the Soul. And then I started the other one, Be Sweet Like Honey. So my plan is to make little pillows with those. There are some more that I have. There's like 3 more in that chart that I want to consider doing. And then I have the Kind Words also. So there's more coming on that. But okay, and then another one of my, so that was considered, I think 3 of my new starts on New Year's Eve. And then this would be a 4th one. It's Heart in Hand, Doodles Autumn. And so I just used my own colors on just some over-dyed fabric that I had. Yeah, that doesn't work. Anyway, real happy with how that turned out. I'm not sure if it's destined to be a pillow or if it'll be in a picture frame. Not sure. So I had 2 decent finishes and then 3 smalls. So I feel like I'm really cooking with gas on, as far as my finishes. Let me see. I'm up to let's see. I have 12 finishes so far for the year. And that was all in January. So I don't even have blue skin on here or the hive rules. So, I mean, I feel like I've really been moving pretty good on my whips. So, I'm excited about that. Not that I'm overly anxious about how many whips I have, because I'm not. I would rather have everything started and in the process than having things just sit in piles. So at least if it's started, it's a step closer. So, okay. I actually wrote down notes this time. Who am I? Okay, so let me check my notes and I'll be right there. Okay, so now we're on to whips. I worked on Channing Street by Annie B's Folk Art. I have my threads that I'm going to be using, which I think might be called for. I had just done just this top little corner on my New Year's Eve start. And so I've pulled this out quite a few times in the evenings just to putz away at it. So that's the bottom of the piece, and that's the corner. So it won't be huge, which was nice to figure out, because I have it on this huge piece of fabric, which I'm not sure of what it is. I'm pretty sure it's an R&R. And I'm thinking it might be American chestnut, but I'm not positive about that. I have been trying to be better and write the names down, but some of the things just didn't have tags on it, so there's no way really to find out. Okay, my next one is going to be the Red House Sampler by Brenda Keys. And this is the thread I'm using. I have two different rings. So one ring is flosses that I've used, and then these are just some ideas that I thought I might want, because there's tons of different little tiny flowers, little birds, little critters. So anyway, as I use a thread, I move it onto the other ring. But now, if you've been here before, you know I changed my orangey red house to a blue house. And I am just loving how it's coming out. This is going to be the top corner here. So I'm working on it. This last time I worked on all these little trees on this side. See. Really pretty. I don't know how to get better lighting for you. I have every light on available. So, the pattern, they had used two different colors of flowers in the border, and I decided I just wanted to do that tealy color. So anyway, I am just thrilled with how that's turning out. I think this might be one of my most favorite things I've stitched so far. Okay, and then I'm also doing Spring Moon by Plum Street Samplers. This was one that was, what's the word? An exclusive for some shop. And so it came with the pattern, and it came with, I think it's Hog Bristle by Fox and Rabbit. I have a 36 count. And this was one of my New Year's starts, New Year's Eve. And I didn't have any floss picked out for it. It was just one of those things that I knew I wanted to use some of the fancy floss for for the blues and the greens for sure. And I hadn't got out to get those yet. And so anyway, I decided, I normally start down at the bottom, but I started at the top corner. And I just decided to do the moon because that only took 2 colors. So, and I just worked on the center of the moon at first. So I only needed 1 color. So I think I used parchment by weeks. But anyway, and so then I finished the moon since, and I did some of the stars, so. And then I went back to work on Seasons of the Heart Autumn. Oh boy, this one's a glossy one. And this was one that I started 3 of the seasons on 1 fabric. So this is the part that I have finished. So I went in and I finished the little line of berries or bittersweet, whatever that is. And I did the grass, and then I started with the house and framed in the windows on the bottom and the door frame. This is on 40 count. And 40 count is getting easier for me. But 36 is still the easiest for me to work on. So, okay. So, the one time I didn't bring anything to drink in, and now I'm thirsty. Okay, and so now that January is done, sorry, I put a piece of candy in my mouth. Hopefully that's not annoying. It's already annoying me, so let me chew it up. Okay, sorry. Okay, so this is my first year on doing WhipGo. If you're not familiar with WhipGo, it's kind of like a game that Jessie Marie Does Stuff on YouTube came up with to try to get us to try to finish or get a lot of progress on our whips, our works in progress, if you're not familiar with our lingo. And so I don't normally like to get bossed around, even if I'm the one doing the bossing. So I've never participated. But this year I felt led to. I just thought that maybe a little more organization or a little more structure in my routine might help me try to get more stuff done. So I made my WhipGo board out, and you had to come up with 24? Yeah, 24 whips. And so a lot of people, you can get on her site and print out something, but my printer wasn't working, so I just decided to make up my own board out of, you know, my card making stuff. So I was like, how do I have so many things? But the 13 is a free space, just like in bingo. Jeez. Anywho, so I put a little blue dot sticker, not sticker, a little blue circle on the numbers when they're called. And then once you do them, I just stamp the B in there to show that it's done. So, in January, I had Spell of the Moon, and I showed that on my last video. I finished it. It was just a little small. So I finished it, and then the other number that I called was Spring Moon. So I think I had that you work like 3 or 4 nights on it. I think I said 3, but I worked 4. So, and a night is just whatever you stitch in that evening. So sometimes I would only stitch for like a half hour, but it still counts as a night. It's not necessarily, you know, hours that I have to. This is a loose system. So, and then on the other side, I just wrote out all my numbers. So, but since this is the first time I've done it, and I've been really trying to, you know, knock out some of these things, I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I already have 9 of my 24 finished. And so I didn't know if does any of you guys run into this when you do WIPGO? What do you do if once that number is called? Because like I finished Gentleman's Daughter, that's number 11. When 11 is called, what do you guys do when that happens? I thought, well, it doesn't really, I could put another WIP in there, but I don't know that I have enough, because I actually have one thing on my WIPGO that I haven't even started yet, just because I needed enough things to fill in. So I can't really throw in another WIP unless I throw in quilting. And now that I have enough unfinished products that I could fill in. So, or I thought, well, I could either fill in a quilt or I could fully finish that piece. Now, I have a lot of those things. The stitching is finished, but I don't have them framed or made into pillows or anything like that. So I think for the first day of, because like I said, I wanted to work 4 days on the project. So I think the numbers that were called this time was Hive Rules, which there are some other ones that I could start, but I don't think that fits with WIPGO since I haven't started them. So I think what I'm going to do is take the 1 day and try to finish the pillows, the 4 that I have finished now, and do them into pillows. And then the other 3 days, I think I'm going to work on a quilt. I feel like that way I'm still getting some of my projects finished up. They're just not necessarily just cross stitch. So I think that's the way I'm going to handle it. If you guys do something different, if you have a finish when that number is called, put some comments down and below and let me know what you guys do if that ever happens with you. So anyway, I've been seeing some people do some quilt parades. And as I was considering doing quilts, if one of the numbers is called in WIPGO, I thought, well, I guess I need to make a plan. So I started going through my little stash of quilt WIPs, and I didn't even go through all of them. I think I still have a few tucked away here or there, but I decided I was going to share that stuff with you today. So but before we head over to that, I have that stuff set up over on the other side of the craft room because I didn't want to try to pile it up here. One of the other things that I've been trying to do is, I've mentioned before that I had some big hat boxes full of DMC. And like I often pick my own colors. So when I'm at Joann's and I'm trying to decide, what colors I want to use for something, I'll have the chart picture there. Excuse me. But like I won't, limit my options. I usually have, 2 or 3 options for a brown and green. You know what I mean? So when those aren't used, my stash was getting pretty big of DMC. But instead of going through it when I needed something, because it was a big old mess, instead of going through it, I would just go buy more. Well, that's just ridiculous. So I've decided to go through my hat box. And so anything that was already bobbinated or was real tangled up or a mess. I wasn't messing. I wasn't that dedicated yet. That stuff's still in there. But the stuff that was, I did get them all put on floss drops. And I was doing them according to like colors on the first go around when I did the greens. I kind of sorted them into color schemes, and I did all the greeny colors. And I was kind of putting them together that way, but I've decided on the next go around, when I did this group, I put them in numerical order. So I did a bunch of creams and reds. I did a bunch of pinks, some more greens. I did a bunch of browns. So anyway, I am getting there as far as getting that huge hat box full of floss to where it's easy, and it will be so much better to kit up a project, because kitting is not my favorite part. I don't mind picking the colors. That part's kind of exciting. But then once you decide your colors in the skein, then you have to put them on floss drops, which I know some people, when they look at it, think, well, they're messy, or they take up too much room this way. And that's fine. Everybody has their own opinion. That's what makes this world so great. But to me, I will never go back to doing a bobbin, just because always having to, take off your length and then pulling it apart and getting, your strand. Where this, I can just put my needle in one strand, pull it, straighten the other stuff out, and I'm good to go. And then the majority of the time, unless it's a pretty decent size piece, I just throw it away. I've got a lot of floss. I don't think I'm ever going to run out. And so I don't really necessarily worry about putting that little piece back on. I just move on. But then I'll also play thread chicken with my thread, and only have this tiny piece to throw away just because I don't want to get another piece out. I just try to get that little motif finished. So anyhow, boy, I'm chatty today. And then I was given a bunch of linen from a viewer, Sherry. I don't know, it's probably been about 4 years now, something like that. And I am still using it. What I had done at the time, I had this huge basket, and I had rolled all the linen. I laid it, because a lot of it wasn't, it didn't have a name or anything on it. So I laid them out, and I counted the threads and figured out what count fabric they were. And then I measured them, and then I made little tags. In fact, a couple of the tags fell off, and I don't know what they went to. But, so anyway, I just made little tags, and then I tied them to the projects. And so that way I could just quick look through if I knew I needed a piece that was like 15 by 20 or whatever. I could look at that little tag, and I would know if that piece was big enough. So I ended up, I didn't like them rolled. I folded them now. Just a couple loose folds, because I figure by the time I stitch in hand, they get all wadded up anyway. So I took those tags, and I hooked them on with little bulb pins. So they're still labeled, but I just have them in one of these little bins now. So it takes up less room, because that was a huge basket. And then I had downsized them into another basket as I had used, because I mean, there was a huge amount of linen. So I've used most of it. And then the smaller pieces that were like remnants and scraps, I have them in 2-gallon baggies, and I have them by my stitching area. So if I decide on a whim I want to just do a quick pink and pumpkin, something or other, or a little ornament or whatever, I can just grab out of that. Because I don't want to cut into something that's a nice size piece just to do a little small. So anyway, so that was some of the organization things I did. I wanted to do, I had done a little stitching and I wanted to make a covered button for it. And so I went to Joann's. Well, they had the size covered button that I wanted, but it didn't come with the little piece that you use to, it didn't come with the little, these things that you set the covered button down in, and then the little piece that you smash them together with. It didn't come with that. It was $5 for two two little buttons, and that was on sale. They were $5.99. I think I paid $5.30 or something. And it didn't come with a thing. And so I even asked the lady when I was on the checkout, I'm like, well, wait a minute, this doesn't even have the little thing you mash them together with. And she looked on the instructions. She said, oh, it says you can use a spool. But that's still not going to help you get it centered up or whatever. So I got on Amazon. Now, granted, that was $5 for just two pieces that didn't come with everything you needed. I got on Amazon, and I got 100 in 5 different sizes, and I think it was $15. So, needless to say, I have enough covered buttons to cover from here to somewhere. So, I thought I would play around with them, and I wanted to try them out before I did my stitching piece, because I thought, well, that just makes more sense. And so, and I had this idea of what it would look like, because I had done, I had a little memory box that I made in honor of my mom. And so I have her thimble sitting on here on top. And I have, let me show you, just a second. Okay. So if you're new here, this is the box. I found it at the thrift store, and I painted it with some milk paint. And then I have her thimble on here. I took a little motif and made a pin cushion. I'll have to take some of the stuff off just so I could show it to you. I made a little strawberry. I just strung some buttons on some thread. I have one of the little doilies she crocheted. And then I took her scissors, and I had done a little stitched piece, and I made 2 covered buttons and put them together. Anyway, but this is the box that I did. It's a Lori Holt, Where Flowers Blossom, I believe. Anyway, so that just sits over there on the corner of my cutting table. But anyway, so this was the scissor fob that I made, but I was never happy with the shine that would come through from the covered button. You could kind of see that shiny metal through the stitching. And then when I tried to stitch them both together, I didn't want to use glue, which I don't know why I didn't want to use glue, but for some reason I didn't want to use glue that day. And so I just tried to sew them together. Well, I did a terrible job because I was trying to hold them together. Anyway, it wasn't pleasant. So, but I liked the look of it, but I felt like it needed something. It was a little boring the way it was. So I thought, well, wonder what would look like if I tried to make it look like a flower. And so I took a little piece and I tried to make like a flower shape, but it was very hard to get it turned and poked out to make it look smooth, as small as I was trying to make it. But I thought, oh, well, that might be kind of cute to and do the ribbon coming out of it. But it still, somehow, it wasn't what I had in mind. So I decided to try wool, and so I did 2 covered buttons, and I did a piece of wool in the shape that I was trying to accomplish with the other fabric and turning inside out, but I knew wool doesn't fray, so I thought, well, that would work out. And then I made a cute little scissor fob. So I have this on a lobster claw, so you can just take and you just slide it through, and then slide that through. So now it's on your scissors, and then I have a little hook or a little ring put through there, thinking that that might help on the wear of the lace. But anyway, I just put a bunch of little things. It reminded me of the person I was going to send it to. So anyway, so that was what I was putzing around with last night. So that was kind of fun. Then I also got something else from Amazon. I bought some comic boards to wrap my fabric around. Whether I do it or not, we shall see. But I thought they were going to be a little bit bigger than they were. So anyway, but that was basically my haul for this time. So I think we'll move the camera and I will show you some of the quilts that I think I'm going to use to fill in my Whipco board. So hold on. Okay, so hopefully you'll be able to see all the things that I was hoping to share with you. So I have all kinds of quilts in all kinds of different stages of finishing. So I have some that are just blocks. I have some that are just ready to go on my quilting machine and just need quilted. I have some that I've started to hand quilt. So let's see. I'm trying to think of where I'm going to start laying all this stuff once I go through it. Okay, now this one has been hanging around forever. In fact, some of the hand quilting on it is my mom's. It has some real pretty, well, I guess you can kind of see the crosshatch quilting on there. It's a table runner, and it was just using leftover blocks that I had. And so it's all quilted to here. I have the churn dashes are all quilted. I just have to do the cross hatching in the alternate blocks. And that has been on my channel. I know I've probably, well, my mom's been gone for 3 years, so I mean, it's been hanging around for a long time. Then my mom also made me a quilt that's in my bedroom, and there was some leftover blocks and some fabric. So I had just taken it and made it into a little table topper. And so I believe some of the hand quilting on this was hers also. And so the whole center is quilted. I just have to do 3 of the borders, 2.5 of the borders. And I was just doing crosshatch in those 2. And these were hand quilting, so I would like to get those finished. I have, and those were just random blocks. Now this was This was a charm pack I had gotten, and I think it was a thing off like Missouri Quilts pattern. And I had tried machine quilting this one when my machine was acting up, and I was just doing free motion just on my quilt by itself, on my sewing machine, not on my quilt frame. But there was something wrong with the foot, and I just kept trying to make it go, but it just wasn't going well. So whether I rip some of that out and start over, which I think I will, because I really didn't go very far because I knew it wasn't right. I just have a little bit of stitching that I could rip out, and then I could try it again. But I don't remember the name of the pattern or anything. Now this was, I think Joe Morton. This was the quilt that I had made in remembrance of Leanne. And I had the actual quilt put together pretty quick, but I just never got it quilted. It's Three Sisters fabric. And it's funny, it's just because the colors really don't go in my house very well. But anyway, I need to get that quilted. Then last spring, I bought fabric for Loretta and I to make a quilt. So it was a lot of pretty bee fabric. And so we were going to do a beehive. So this is a Bonnie Sullivan quilt that I kind of changed around. Anyway, all I have to do is applique a few bees on it and it'll be ready. I just need one more border on it and it'll be ready to go on the quilt machine. I have all of the blanket stitching done around. Did the stem stitching. So anyhow, I need to get busy. Okay. Then I also started another one. Jeanette and I from Crafty Cottage Stitches was going to do one of Lori Holt's quilts. I think it's Farm Sweet Farm. And hers, are, of course, are all in her Lori Holt fabric. But Lori Holt's, I love her fabric, but it just doesn't really go in my house. My house is a little bit more primitive. And so I was going to do my barn in brown. So I have the barn pretty much done. I still have to do the silo piece and the windmill. And I have some of the blocks done that go on it. But of course there's more. They're basically two different. I just changed the placement of the browns. And so I have some of those made. And I'm not doing the entire quilt. I don't think I'm going to do a lot of the critters. We'll see. Now this is the wool project that I'm thinking about doing for February. I've showed this one a bunch. This is a all through the night Bonnie Sullivan pattern. And all of these little half square triangles I should have squared up, and I didn't. And I didn't realize how big of an issue it was until none of my points came out on my intersections the way they're supposed to. And so I am generally not someone who rips things out. And so the thought of ripping all of these apart and doing them over, I would have much rather just made another quilt. But I mean, I've done a ton of work I mean, all of these things, there's an occasional leaf here or there that's not stitched around, but I mean, I have done all of the blanket stitching around all of these pieces, and you can't see it, I'm sorry. But anyhow, I mean, there's a ton of pieces in this thing, and anyhow, so I think I am going to do that. I was gonna just put like a doily over where it was really bad, and then, you know, on the borders where it was really offensive, you know, I thought, oh, I'll just fudge my way through it. But I thought, Lisa, you've done way too much on this to be so immature and not do it right. So I really feel like I'm going to try to take a few evenings and just unstitch my borders, all these half square triangles. I'm going to take the strips apart and then square them up like I should, and so that I'll actually look at this thing and be proud of it. I was just going to take all the half squares out and just do just a plain strip, but anyhow, I'm just going to take it apart and do it right. So now that's me saying I'm going to be mature. We'll see. I don't know if I have enough hashtag mature in me to accomplish that goal, but we shall see. And then this one's been hanging around for a long time. It's been on the goal list for quite a while. This is Tall Pines by Lori Holt. And it was supposed to be for a little wall hanging behind my dining room table. And I've been working on this for a couple of years and thought every year it was going to go behind my table, and all it needs is quilted on my quilting machine. So, and I believe I've got my quilting machine all figured out. I figured out that I had the wrong free motion foot, and so that's why the stuff just wasn't gliding. And so I think I have that figured out, and I think I'll be able to do a good job again. I had the best luck with the original foot, and then I had somehow it broke, and I think the plastic part of it or something broke. Anyway, when they gave me the replacement, they were closing when I called them, and I said, well, can I just pay for it on the phone and just leave it outside, and I'll just pick it up. I'll be there in a few minutes. I'm sure nobody's going to steal a presser foot in that time frame. So anyway, but it wasn't the right one. And long story short, when I had them do some service on my machine, we figured it out that it was the wrong presser foot. So I think I've got that all worked out, but that was like in April, and I still haven't used it. It's terrible. So this is a quilt that I found at the thrift store for $5. It's just a little throw size. It's totally not my color schemes. It's just not the right shades of, I don't really go for rust color but anyway, this was always a plan to make for my mom for a little throw quilt, but I never got that finished, of course. So now I think I'm going to use this as my guinea pig, and I'm going to try to quilt that first and see how that goes before I try something I really like. So hold on. Okay, back to sitting down where I feel like the lighting might be a touch better, but maybe not. The sun's been poking out a little bit, but then it went back in. Okay, and so I have some other quilt blocks that I've run across. Stacy West of Buttermilk Basin was doing like a mystery thing, and so she would give you the free pattern, and you had a month to, you know, download it and type of thing. She does that a lot. And then after a month you have to pay for the the block. And so, um, but then when it came to putting it all in a big quilt, I don't know, somehow I just wasn't crazy about them all together. So, I think what I'm going to do is make project bags out of these. There was a few, um, there was a few of the months that I made little mats, um, like little wall hanging sizes. One was the spring, and then the other one was a summer one. I have that underneath my sewing stuff. But anyway, so I just think I might just use these for project bags and then just move on. They're done. I wanted to do something, and so I started a table runner on a whim. I think I saw all the pretty table runners and things that Tammy Basket Nut does, and I thought, oh, I want to do something with a basket. And so anyhow, I just have the flower to do on this one, and then I can just put it on my quilt machine and quilt it. So, but it was kind of fun to get some of these things out again. Now, some of them, I mean, I didn't need a reminder. I totally knew they were there, and they were nagging at me and hollering, but some of the things were just fun to get out. Like, I had started a little sampler quilt, and I think it might have even been one that the Fat Quarter Shop was doing, where they were like blockheads or something like that years ago, and I was just going to do it in taupe, cream, and blues. And so I had gotten like 4 months done and gave up on it. So I don't know. I have been looking a lot at the new blockheads. And then even Jessica Dayan that I follow on Instagram is doing, a cute little free sew along. So I'm not sure if I'm going to just add a few more to this and make like a wall hanging size or a throw, or if I'm going to try to continue on and make something big. We'll see. I have big piles of fabrics set up downstairs for this, so I definitely would have enough fabric, I think, to make a pretty decent sized quilt. So we shall see. You'll have to stay tuned and see if I accomplish anything. So, but I think the next thing on the agenda is going to be that silly spring wool project. That way I'll be able to do my monthly challenge and do a whip go. I mean, all in one thing. I mean, I can just check off a lot of boxes in one project. But that's going to be a humdinger. Oh, man. Taking all those half square triangles apart, not just the individual blocks apart from each other, and square them up and then put them back together. Ugh. We'll see. It might just be all chucked out on the curb and I might start over. Anyway, goodness, I've been talking for an hour. Anybody still there? You guys probably had to turn off and turn it back on after you took a nap. Anywho, well, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. My hairstylist did call, so I'm not going to be able to get on until a week from tomorrow. My hair will be down to here. Anywho, well, thanks for joining me and listening to me ramble on. And I hope whatever you're doing is causing you to create some joy in your heart. And if you want to share anything with me, I'm Lisa Abby 9137 on Instagram. And I love to hear and see pictures of what you're working on. So if you want to share anything with me, that's a really good way to hop on there. So now the goal is to try to get all of this put back before I leave the sewing room. Because otherwise, you won't even be able to tell that I started to organize in here. All right, y'all. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for always being so kind in the comments. You lift my soul more than you know. So you guys take care, and I'll see you next time.